Well, he should be confident that players want to play with him. I mean, we know Anthony Davis wants to play with him. And who recruited him last summer? Joel Embiid wants to play with him or wanted to play with him. And then a couple years ago when Paul George wanted to leave Indiana, thought he was going to the Lakers, he was willing to get traded to Cleveland and waive his opt-out for a year if LeBron was willing to do the same thing and LeBron didn't want to stay an extra year in Cleveland or at least guarantee it. So LeBron has reason to think players want to play with him. I think the narrative that nobody wants to play with LeBron James is overblown. Because I've heard, I don't know if you've heard this, CC, but I've heard that KD and Kawhi don't really want to play together. Not because they don't like each other or anything like that, but just that they don't necessarily want to go to the Clippers together. Neither one of them kind of wants that narrative that I'm joining the other guy.
Right.
You know, I've heard that. So it doesn't, you know, there are some guys that want to play with LeBron, and there are others that don't. Now, when I look at these top 4 free agents, I think KD and Kyrie are going to be in New York. I think Kawhi is either going to be in Toronto or with the Clippers. And I think with KD leaving Golden State, that Klay will stay there in Golden State. That leaves DeMarcus Cousins, Kemba Walker, Jimmy Butler. I don't think Chris Middleton will leave Milwaukee. I think they'll keep him. So, look, I could see Boogie ending up there. I don't think he's going to get 3 years at big money from somebody else. So I could see the Lakers maybe throwing a 1-year, $20-something million offer at Boogie, and you bring in him. Or if Jimmy Butler doesn't stay in Philly, maybe it's him. You know, I think that's what you're looking at.
The LeBron-Kemba pairing? Because LeBron, we saw LeBron and Kyrie do it.
Yeah.
Kemba is not Kyrie, but he is as good and I believe a better three-point shooter than Kyrie, and the numbers say that. Now, he's not as good of a ball handler, and he's not as good of a finisher. Right. And now, I would say they are equivalent defenders. I think Kemba puts in more effort on the defensive end, but he is more physically limited than Kyrie. Neither's a good defender, right? We know that. And so I was surprised. We talked about this before. Obviously, Kemba's a tier beneath the 4 names you listed, the other 4 Ks. But go ahead, Steve.
One reason why you would have to doubt it is look at the numbers that LeBron, when they won, look at the numbers that Kyrie and LeBron had. Do we think they could duplicate? Could LeBron and Kemba duplicate the numbers? Forget about style of play and all that. LeBron was amazing.
Was unbelievable.
Okay. And Kyrie was amazing.
And LeBron was a better defender still at that point in his career,
Yes, that's why that combination is not as good. It's not that we don't think Kemba is a player. We're also granting Kemba deep playoff success under maximum pressure that we haven't seen. We're just granting him a huge thing that we don't grant anyone.
Right. I think the reason LeBron and Kyrie worked was just because they both were so great. I don't think it was a great fit, but I do think
they were playing against
LeBron could back up. When Kyrie's an ISO player. And so there were times when LeBron could just let Kyrie go for a quarter and a half, and just kind of take the back seat. But it wasn't like the offense was that fluid with those two. It was just that they're both so awesome, you can make it work. Kemba, as you said, he's not quite Kyrie.
No.
Look, again, as I said it before, I think Kemba, I would be totally comfortable with Kemba and LeBron if LeBron was going to be more of a traditional small forward. Give me 30 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, but let Kemba run the offense.
If it's Kemba, if that's the free agent LeBron gets, is that considered a disappointment? After all the talk of the big name that was going to come to L.A. and join forces with LeBron, would Kemba be a disappointment?
It's not Anthony Davis. It's not Kawhi Leonard. It's not Paul George. We all agree, right? The Kyrie thing, when LeBron went to the Lakers, nobody thought Kyrie was going there. The only reason that came up was because they reconciled. So he is clearly a tier down from that. But it's not, to me, a true disappointment would be Boogie. I think Boogie is a bad fit. I think that team would be impossibly bad defensively. I think the chemistry would be off. Boogie, I think, would be a problem. Tobias Harris would be a disappointment, even though Tobias Harris is none of those chemistry issues I worry about. I just don't think he is that level of player. I think Kemba's a tick or 2 above Tobias Harris. It's not Anthony Davis. To me, it would then.
It's not Anthony Davis. It's not Kyrie. It's not KD. It's not Klay.
As good as Kemba is, and he's a legitimate all-star and all that, I think it'd be a disappointment.
If I gave them a crystal ball, and when Magic was sitting outside of his house, and if he had promised LeBron, hey, bruh,
We get
in a year.
I'm going to get you Kemba.
You and Kemba.
Right.
Not real sexy.
Listen, it's not real sexy, but I also think Kemba. I think Kemba's one of the 20 best players in the league. I think Kemba's one of the. We were talking earlier about All-NBA ballots. He might end up being third-team All-NBA. Like I think Kemba Walker, because he's been playing in Charlotte and because he's been a one. The other night, the starters in Charlotte scored 51 points. He had 47 of them. Like, he's been a one-man show out there.
Yeah, I saw Devin Booker get 50 and didn't nobody care.
Yeah,
but what?
He's not Devin Booker.
Okay, I can understand that. But when you're on a losing basketball team, let's just keep this consistent. We always discredit the numbers of those players regardless of who they are.
Right.
And if LeBron James fit, and this is our narrative now. Man, he missed on him. Man, he missed on him. Man, he missed on him. Now, the only way the Kemba thing works is you got to throw in a sweetener. You got to throw in Boogie at a small deal. Now, tell me if that can happen, that would be something I'm willing to work with. But telling me Kemba and LeBron to finish off the greatest.
Well, no, I don't. But obviously, this is similar to our Kevin Durant conversation. Like, I don't think anything is a finished product. I don't think the Lakers would say, we signed Kemba Walker, we're done making moves. We're running the same team back as next year. No matter who they sign, unless they are to get Kawhi Leonard, who is an MVP candidate, the guy that is the best of all these options, because KD's not a realistic option, you have to overhaul this roster either way. You have to bring in shooters. You have to see, are we going to trade these young pieces for veterans, even that veteran's not Anthony Davis?
Yeah, but we're talking about who the number 2 is. And Kemba is not. Okay, who do you want? He would be the 5th or 6th player if we were drafting players to be with LeBron.
Right. Yeah, I just, look, I see what you're saying because he is similar to Kyrie Irving. He worked with Jeremy Lin in Charlotte, where they both could be on the court at times and Kemba could play off the ball. You need a point guard that can play off the ball. If LeBron's going to play the way he always has and bring the ball up 50% of the time, then you need a 2 guard that's going to be, or a point guard that can be off the ball. And, maybe Kemba would do that. I'm with Cris, though. Kemba, Boogie, LeBron, that would excite me a little more.
Yeah, you're much higher on Boogie than I am, but we'll see how the rest of the season goes.
And I'm not in love with Boogie, but, at this point, this point, as we keep knocking guys off the list.
But that's where, Cris, where you are with Kemba, that it would be LeBron plus Kemba. That's how I feel if it's Boogie. If it's LeBron
because
plus
the thing,
Boogie,
also imagine this happens.
Shining that.
Kyrie signed somewhere else. So, man, I missed him too. Because you would never take Kemba over Kyrie. No, I know y'all say, they're alike. No,
they are alike, but of course Kyrie's better. Everyone acknowledges that Kyrie is better than Kemba Walker. No one's arguing that.
I was told about a week ago by somebody connected to the Lakers that there's a guy out there, a candidate that nobody's really talking about. Is it Juwan Howard? I'm not sure. He's a good coaching candidate. Obviously he's played with superstars. Has kind of.
What makes you say? What makes you say that? Yes.
I think, one, he's played with superstars like LeBron. Mm-hmm. He also himself as a player was at one point kind of a star and then became a role player, so he understands that level. He's been on a good coaching staff with Spoelstra where they won championships, and now they've kind of, been mediocre. And he comes from a culture in Miami that, they know the importance of culture building.
Don't you think that David Fizdale's success helps Juwan Howard's prospects? A guy
he hasn't really had success yet. You mean in Memphis?
In Memphis,
in Memphis.
David Fizdale's success in Memphis, and I think, obviously, the Knicks are terrible, but I think he is regarded as a good coach.
Right.
And he came from that.
He is a good coach.
He was on that staff.
Yeah.
Like, when you have the Spoelstra coaching tree, all of a sudden, it's like people have question marks about coaches that come from Belichick's tree because they haven't been very successful.
Right.
If you have, all of a sudden, one branch of your tree, it's like, hey, that's a good coach. I think that helps him. I think that Heat culture is special.
Oh, no question.
And you mentioned they haven't had much success since LeBron left, but they've overachieved. I feel they've overachieved. It was last year they went, or 2 years ago, 11-30. And then finished the year 30-11.
Yeah.
Their turnaround, I think.
I wouldn't say overachieved, but because they haven't, those young players haven't developed into really good players. And I think Spoelstra's a good coach. The culture's tremendous. Now, all that said with Howard, I don't think he's the coach for the Lakers, personally. I don't think LeBron's got 2, maybe 3 years left where you can win this championship. I don't think they need to be experimenting. I think, like Derek Fisher. We all thought, I could have said the same exact things I said about Juwan Howard, about Fisher. We all thought he'd be a really good coach, and he may be down the line, but, it obviously didn't work out in New York, and you were with a mentor of yours in Phil Jackson. So, look, Ty Lue is the guy. He knows LeBron. He's won a championship. He knows what LeBron needs around him and what LeBron's like. I just don't think this is the time to bring in a first-year coach.
When you're looking at a candidate for the Lakers, does the question have to be, is this the best coach to challenge LeBron, or is this the guy that LeBron knows best and he feels most comfortable with? Does Juwan Howard fit into one of those two?
Well, I think that he fits in one of those buckets as far as LeBron being familiar. And if there was coaching styles, if you went to head coaches and or systems that they're running, would the Miami Heat be one of the systems that LeBron, because he's familiar with it, respect? And have been like, yes, I like how they prepare the players. I like how they go about their business every day. I like how they travel. I like how they treat the players. So if I can't get Pop, if I can't get Rick Carlisle, if I can't get Spoles, like if I can't get those guys, I'm going to take someone from their tree that they can give me things that I believe that LeBron will buy into. So I believe that him being familiar, not only him playing, but LeBron has tremendous connective tissue with people he's been with, especially the older players. Like, man, they rant and rave about the relationship that they have. They go back and forth. So I know that veteran players have always been special to LeBron. I'm like you, though. What's the difference in Juwan Howard and Luke Walton from a couple years ago? Because, man, I believe that coaches are born, but also you have to develop them into getting them to being the best version of themselves.
It's rarely Nick Nurse. It's rarely a guy who first-time head coach and hits the ground running. Now, he also took over a team that was the #1 seed in its conference last year, got better and added Kawhi Leonard, and so he was in a perfect situation.
He's got low-maintenance guys, too.
And they're out of the spotlight. They don't have drama surrounding them because they're in Toronto. The other reason Juwan Howard, I think's name is going to be connected, not just because he played 3 seasons with LeBron, won 2 titles, and then coached LeBron for a year, because LeBron's last year in Miami, he was on the staff. But people, I don't think people knew this. I didn't know this. Rob Pelinka was on the Fab Five. Rob Pelinka, so they played in college together. He obviously was not one of the Fab Five, but he was on that team.
He was around the periphery.
Exactly. So he has a relationship with Juwan. But I not to just be an echo chamber here. I totally agree with you on Ty Lue. You cannot go for the high upside pick. You have to go with the safe pick. And Ty Lue can do it. You know what system he'll run. You know the relationship with LeBron. You know that you're not going to hire Ty Lue and a year into it be like, oh, my God, do we have to fire him? Right. And the clock is ticking fast. You said 3 years. That's what's left on his contract. And that is the most optimistic LeBron James supporter would say 3 years left as a top 5 guy. Realistically, it's probably 2. We're year 19. He's going to be an MVP candidate is what we're talking about. So it's probably 2. So you can't put yourself in where there's any chance that going into year 3, wait, are we replacing the coach again?
Right. Now, and if I thought that one of these young up-and-coming coaches is going to have some insight on getting one of these free agents. Sure. With Juwan, he's from Chicago. Anthony Davis, he's from Chicago. They might have some relationship, but he's not a free agent.
Right.
So if I had something like that, I'd be willing. But as you guys mentioned, as far as LeBron and the Lakers, yes, you have to keep in mind about LeBron and how long he's going to be able to play. It's got to be a part of it. That part right there is more important than is LeBron familiar with the system. They need a coach who's ready to go right now. So if they get a free agent or if they're able to make the AD trade, that they have enough things in place that they can be a title contender next season.
Right away. There's a lot of coaches that look like that were hot assistants. And I'm not saying Juwan wouldn't be good, but I mentioned Derek Fisher. Remember Mark Ivoroni coming out of Phoenix years ago? He was like going to be the next great coach. Heck, Luke. To this point, Luke hasn't done it. So, like I said, you can't be experimenting. And now, I've heard Ty Lue wants big money. because as much as he likes LeBron and they get along,
it's
he
stressful,
knows
man.
It's a hard job.
It's a hard job. And Magic,
Yes.
too, right?
Yes.
So he wants big-time money. So I don't know if that's a factor, but maybe why you're hearing about Juwan now.
Wow.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.